Living Title IX with Betsy. That's me. I am so excited to be with you today, and I am even more excited that we have Tawny, our amazing ICS specialist, with us today to talk about a very important topic. So there is often an overlap, or there is always an overlap almost, between Title IX and law enforcement. What gets reported to law enforcement, what doesn't get reported to law enforcement, how law enforcement responds. There's just really a big overlap, and sometimes we forget about it or we don't talk about it enough. And so that's what we're going to chat through today. As a quick highlight, we will be doing a 1-hour training session on this in the month of April for Sexual Assault Awareness Month in the prevention series, and Tawny is going to be leading us there. And then finally, before I get to introduce you, I want to highlight that our symposiums that are going to happen in the spring are going to include information on mental health, safety, and Title IX as well. So big high points for us in the spring as we're thinking about how we're responding to and preventing sexual harassment and all Title IX behaviors. All right, all that mess out of the way. Let's get to it. I'm going to introduce Tawny. Tawny, tell us about you.
Yeah, so happy to be here today. I love watching Living Title IX every time it comes out. It's the best. My name is Tawny Alonzo. I'm one of the Title IX and Equity Specialists here at ICS. And just a little bit about me, I have an interesting and kind of unique career path in that I am a former police officer from here in the Dallas area, and sort of made a jump into Title IX and higher ed. So this particular topic is, my passion and something I'm really excited to talk about because it blends my two worlds.
Oh, I love that. And that's really where I got my start, not as a police officer, but as a prosecutor. So really in the law enforcement realm, and it's just, there's such an overlap that I didn't understand when I was a prosecutor. So it's why it's so important for me that we talk about it often. So tell us, what is the overlap? What do you see as the overlap, and why does that matter?
Traditionally, I think people kind of see the overlap only once something has happened, right? So we think of these almost parallel processes happening side by side, and every once in a while, maybe we're talking about what's going on in the criminal investigation versus what's happening in the Title IX administrative side. But there are so many more overlaps and touch points than that I don't like to see it as parallel lines, but more so these areas where we cross and, like you said, overlap is a much better description. So we have opportunities to collaborate on things like programming on our campuses, to talk to students about what we do and what the differences are between these processes, how we're all working to keep campus safe. We can collaborate on how to make responses better for those that are going through it, and how we can make things more cohesive. And we really have opportunities to think about things like reporting on our campus, sharing information that we might have that, again, creates those safe spaces. So there are so many different ways to collaborate.
Absolutely. And I think as I was sitting here processing and thinking about all that you were saying, one thing that sticks out to me is that sometimes there's tension between school administrators and law enforcement, and maybe annoyance, or one way or even both ways. I often found myself working on a campus oh, the police hate me because this process sucks. Or I can only imagine if I'm on their end thinking, those people are hindering my investigation. And so, what do you think about developing the relationship, and why does that matter?
That's where, collaboration and community building between those two entities is so important, because then you start to see each other as two pieces of the same team. You are working towards the same goals. Maybe the way you get there is a little bit different. We're speaking different languages at times, but really we're saying the same thing. So coming together as often as you can to understand, what's your lingo, what's your terminology, what do your steps look like? This is why we're doing XYZ at this step, really helps inform the other and kind of get you both on the same side, thinking about, wow, we're really achieving the same goals. So it kind of alleviates some of that tension.
Yeah, absolutely. I laugh because it feels so overwhelming in the moment to think about, let me add another meeting to my agenda or let me join another team. But there are teams in your community who are meeting with sexual assault prevention and response, whether it's a sexual assault center or otherwise, and they are including people from local institutions. And I really recommend that if your institution is in a city that has one of those, or if your school district is in a city that has a sexual assault response team for the community, that your district or institution is involved and at the table for those meetings, because they often include law enforcement and prevention specialists and advocates and like a good amount of law enforcement, whether it's city or state or even like your like sheriff's departments, all of that. They're there, and that's such a great building opportunity.
Yeah, it's really important to foster that multidisciplinary approach, because if you think about it realistically, these are all of the agencies and folks that our parties and parents and guardians and things like that are going to interact with throughout this process, or even folks who are just on your campus wanting to learn more. They're going to be interacting with all of these different people. And so the more we can be on the same team and either programming together or working to develop, like I said, a more cohesive response, the better services we're going to be able to provide to the people on our campuses.
Awesome. So one of the things, oh goodness, I'm recording, but also my phone's ringing. So I'm just going to pause that. Sorry, y'all. One of the things that as you were talking, I was also thinking about is, yes, there is overlap, but how do we talk to students, employees, families about the differences? And that is, yes, there's overlap, but there are also significant differences. So transparency is kind of how do we make sure that they understand those differences?
Yeah, absolutely. It's important to let the parties that are going through this understand who is in charge of what, like who owns what piece. And in Title IX cases, sometimes parties choose to also utilize the criminal process. Sometimes they don't. And so I think if you are aware that somebody has also chose to utilize that process, that you're informing them, hey, our terms are a little bit different. We're not talking about things that are going to criminal court. So just being really transparent about what it is that we do in the Title IX world. And again, if you're having that collaboration and communication with your campus police officers or local law enforcement, hopefully they're doing the same to reiterate that message that, hey, that's more of a Title IX piece. And that really helps separate it for the parties and understand what process they're in at that time.
Yeah, for sure. One of the things that I always like to say is I can't put anyone in jail, right? That is not me. And so we have like entities that are able to do that. But as a Title IX coordinator, my job is to look at, was a school process or policy violated? And I think police officers need to be saying, or law enforcement officers need to be saying, I can't kick somebody out of school. Right. And so we need both of those things in order to facilitate either one.
Absolutely.
Awesome. All right. You're a freaking rock star. I am so glad that you are with us today. And one, thanks for the shout out about LT9. We love that. But I'm saying we because I mean our whole community that is living Title IX at this point. So a couple of things before we get out of here. I want to highlight our mugshot of the week. So excited that we are able to share images of our favorite humans, and those of you who are commenting #mugshot on the YouTube page or on the LinkedIn page or wherever it is that you're seeing us. We are going through and checking those and getting you mugs. It is something we're so excited to do. And then we share your photo, hooray, with the whole world in your celebration of Title IX and your support. And then let me finish us out by all of my favorite things. So make sure that you are laughing at yourself. As always, laughter is the best medicine in my mind for almost anything. So laugh at yourself, support each other. This works freaking hard. Support the law enforcement, support your teammates, support that collaboration, make it happen, and then celebrate the small victories, whatever it is for you today that you've been able to achieve. Celebrate that, celebrate it tomorrow, celebrate the next day, and celebrate your friends too, celebrating your victories as well as theirs. But we love you. We are so grateful for you. Thank you, Tawny. And we will see you all next week. Bye.